The 737 MAX is the fastest-selling airplane in Boeing history. It's a marvel of technical wizardry. But incident reports that we've dug up suggest some of the humans flying them are worried the computers have too much power, and some pilots don't know how to override them. Experts say that's what happened with the Lion Air crash in Indonesia this past October.
The software, it's called MCAS software, said, oh, I better get the nose down, and it can actually force the nose down. And the pilot said, no, it's not too high, so he countered that. And eventually, unfortunately, the pilot lost that fight with this software.
That fight. It's now suspected that last week's Ethiopian air crash may have been caused by the same issue. Multiple American pilots told the CBC Boeing didn't explain the new software to them, telling them they didn't want to inundate them with information. For its part, Boeing says it provided appropriate information to pilots. But even long before these two crashes, pilots started reporting all sorts of malfunctions prompted by the plane's computers. This is a bit of what we found digging through the U.S. Aviation Safety Reporting database. One pilot writes, the flight director suddenly went nose down and the aircraft started to dive. The captain caught the action first and disconnected autopilot. Another says the pilot monitoring system called descending, followed by an almost immediate don't sink, don't sink. I immediately disconnected the autopilot and resumed climb. And another wrote, I think it is unconscionable that a manufacturer, the FAA, and the airlines would have pilots flying an airplane without adequate training or even providing available resources. I'm left to wonder, what else don't I know? The flight manual is inadequate and almost criminally insufficient. Overall, pilots filed 413 complaints in the U.S. last year related to what they call human-machine interface problems, essentially human versus robot. We also found at least 20 in the Canadian database related to autopilot issues. So, as humans and machines come closer together, is a better relationship possible? Ashley Nunez is a transportation safety expert. He also specializes in the relationship between people and technology at MIT, and he joins us from Boston. So, Ashley, we don't know if the software led to these crashes or if the pilots' fight with the software contributed, but there seems to be some sort of disconnect. What's the fix?
Well, this is something that human factors professionals have been working on for a very, very long time, trying to determine what the division of labor needs to be between humans and automation. More automation also introduces challenges, and the crash of both Lion Air and the Ethiopian Airlines jet hint at those challenges.
But are we heading towards where cars are now, that will ultimately have to have self-driving planes?
I think that is an unlikely prospect at best. You know, there is an old joke in the self-driving community. Self-driving cars will be here 3 years ago. You know, everyone says they're here, they're almost here, and now you are beginning to see more hesitation from automakers, et cetera, regarding when this technology will, you know, absolutely hit the market. Primarily because they are beginning to realize how complicated and how difficult it is to provide safety assurance to the public.
We're hearing through the pilots that the airlines are getting back to them saying, well, we didn't want to spend too much time training you about this particular part of the manual because we didn't want to inundate you. In other words, almost like trust the computer, trust the machines. What do you say to that?
You know, the space shuttle, which first went up in 1981, had about 400,000 lines of software code. The modern jetliner today has close to 7 million lines when we think about the avionics, the electronics alone. It's hard to imagine that a pilot could be trained on the nuances of how that technology actually works.
But then you end up with the pilot and the computer fighting. So isn't that what created a problem here?
I think there certainly is a responsibility that tech developers have to develop machines in a way that humans can actually understand what the underlying systems are and how they function. Some of our own work has found that there isn't a single example of a safety-critical system where automation works absent any degree of human involvement or oversight.